Instead of testing, the bank will offer employee assistance programs to provide counseling for...
Talk to addicted mothers and report on what happens to their children after they're born addicts.
Aimed at stopping birth defects. The silent plea of thousands of unborn babies to mothers who take drugs while they're pregnant. More and more addicted babies are being born every day. Official estimates in the Bay Area show an increase of 300% over the last 3 years. Tonight, Wendy continues her report on this very disturbing problem. Wendy?
Well, in some parts of the Bay Area, doctors and social workers often look the other way and send addicted babies home with their drug-addicted mothers. But that is changing. In San Francisco and some other counties, more and more officials are stepping in and taking these babies away from their mothers. So many addicted babies are being born, the cases are starting to overwhelm social workers and their agencies. And because these tiny victims need a tremendous amount of care. This is not an easy day for Regina Anthony. The day we took these pictures, her baby would be taken from her and given to a stranger. These were the last precious moments she had with her son. Regina actually lost custody of Sean shortly after he was born. She was addicted to heroin, and she is the reason he is so fragile.
And when you love somebody, you don't want to see them hurt.
And you feel that you've caused some of that hurt?
Mm-hmm.
If someone was to say to you right now, you are not a fit mother to take this child home, what would you say to that person?
What if they just told me I wasn't a fit mother? I don't know what I could say.
Sean was born 10 weeks premature. Addicted babies are often born early. He weighed only 2 pounds, 5 ounces. So sick he was hospitalized at San Francisco General for 3 months with serious lung disease and severe withdrawal as well. And when Sean was well enough to be released, he was put into foster care instead of going home with Regina. Judge Daniel Weinstein handles many of these cases.
It would be unconscionable to send those children back to the homes of mothers that we knew were addicted to drugs or who were alcoholics without first ensuring that we're sending them to a safe place and that the mothers can take care of them.
At San Francisco General right now, approximately 25 to 30% of the babies of addicted women are taken from their mothers and put into foster care. The mother has to prove she's responsible before she can have her child back. The city of San Francisco says it's been forced into this policy by cases like this one. 5-year-old Tony is a tragic example of a baby who was allowed at birth to go home with addicted parents. Right now, she's doing fine, living with her foster mom. But when city social workers first met her 2 years ago, she had been abandoned in an apartment. Her parents had been arrested for burglary.
The apartment was filthy. There was vomit both in the crib and on the floor. There were dirty diapers in the crib on the floor. The apartment smelled of the urine. They also found drug paraphernalia.
Tony's parents had a history of drug abuse, heroin, and codeine. Tony was addicted at birth, but it was neglect that produced the deepest scars. Maintaining their drug habit took all her parents' time. There was no time left for Tony. Ellen remembers the day Tony was brought to her home, unable to talk, almost animal-like.
When she first came into my care, she would scratch you. She would bite you. She would literally try to tear at you.
Although her improvement is remarkable, Tony is still under the care of a psychologist. Tony's case is severe, but not unusual. When you see a case like Tony's, you understand why judges are so careful with the babies of addicted parents.
My impression is that the majority of these parents that are born with addicted children will not be able to be effective parents, no.
But Regina feels she can be a good parent. Her case comes up for review every month. She wants her son back.
I don't think it's my right that he should come back with me. It's a privilege, you know, and I have to work for it, and I'm trying.
Regina is enrolled in a methadone program now to come off the heroin. She goes there every day to drink her daily dose of methadone. She is trying to stop this. But drugs are just a part of this complicated problem.
Mostly down by 17th is where the girls are. It's mostly down there, but you can walk.
To get Sean back, Regina not only has to quit drugs, she has to change her whole way of life. She used to work on this street as a prostitute and says it's hard going straight, living in the same neighborhood now.
Well, my life, everything is illegal, you know. I mean, after a while, you don't even think of it as being illegal, but I guess if you stop to think about it, yeah. There's a lot of stealing, a lot of dope, a lot of prostitution. Some man got murdered down here the other night.
What kind of life will Sean have if he is released to Regina? They'll be living on welfare, and even though she doesn't want to, Regina will very likely have to live in a high-crime area.
Maybe if I can teach him a sense of what's right and what's wrong, and he has to grow up in an area like this, he'll turn out to be okay.
Regina is going back to school and wants to get a job. She's taking parenting classes. And while she works to prove she can take care of her son, the city of San Francisco has to take care of him. The recent increase in the number of addicted babies like Sean has overwhelmed the city's social service system. It is showing up in the hospitals.
In which there have been children who have had to stay in the hospital as long as a month or a month and a half because of a lack of foster care.
The city's emergency shelter care system was set up to handle about 80 babies. Right now, it's caring for 232. Lillian Johnson is in charge.
What's so terrifying about having this many babies is that they're so fragile. I mean, we don't know when they're going to die or if they're going to die, and we don't have the resources to care for them.
This 6-year-old boy is an extreme example of what Lillian's department has to deal with. He is a child of 2 drug addicts, both of whom committed suicide. When his mother was pregnant with him, she was using phenobarbital and Dilantin for her epilepsy, but she was also taking methadone and Valium. Her child is unable to walk or talk. He is a ward of the state, lives under total nursing care in a special home in the Bay Area. His doctor says his mother's multiple addiction probably caused his many problems, sentencing her child to this life and this body.
It seems to me that those mothers who are addicted to drugs and who on an ongoing basis ingest drugs into their system with a child in their stomach are abusing their child, both before they're born and after.
Children like this boy and Tony are the reasons judges and social workers are so careful before they give babies back to mothers like Regina.
Well, the women who are least able to take care of the baby have babies who need the most sophisticated care. And it's a disastrous combination.
I didn't think I could love anything as much as I care a lot about him.
No one can deny Regina's love. But the question is, will that love be stronger than her addiction? Sean's whole future depends on the answer. Since we taped this story in October, Regina's son has been back in the hospital twice with pneumonia. Right now, he is still in foster care, but he is doing better.
Regina really is an exception, isn't she, in this whole genre?
Well, yeah, I think her background is pretty typical of the moms who come into the social service system. But she's unusual because she admits she has a problem and she's trying to do something about it. And what social workers said was that a lot of these mothers won't even admit they have a problem and won't try to do anything about it. Some moms do reform, but you heard the judge say that that's the exception.
But recognizing and admitting the problem has got to be the first step, I would think. You talked to a teacher the other day that had a stunning observation.
On a completely different story, I was out there, and she said that these children are showing up in the classroom, and there are more and more of them. They used to be just a few. Now she's seeing more and more of them. She can tell who they are because they are hyperactive. They can't track. They can't operate like a normal child can. And that, to me, when she said that, I thought, oh,
we're looking at a generation of children that we're developing here that are going to have problems that we are going to have to take care of in the years to come. Again, one ironic point to this whole thing. Regina lost custody of Sean because of San Francisco's policy, because she lived in San Francisco. If she lived in Oakland or some other places in the Bay Area, there is a good chance that she would have Sean home with her right now.
Very, very strong series. Certainly given us a lot to think about, a lot to worry about. Thank you.
It's troubling.
We'll be back in just a moment. Joel will be here with the weather.